One of the goals of our congregation here at Pilgrim Lutheran Church is to reach out to others with the gospel. It has become time that one of the members of our Pilgrim family goes out to make that gospel reach even greater. Pastor Recker will be starting his new opportunity to reach out to others as the WELS Director on Evangelism in just a couple of short days. He says that as he's learning more and more about his new position, he thinks of his role as having two primary responsibilities: to energize and equip WELS members to reach out with the gospel.
And we know the only way to be energized to proclaim the gospel is when the gospel is in our heart and when we have the joy of knowing our salvation. That's what motivates us. So part of our responsibility is to remind people of that, and that will then energize them to do evangelism.
He says that some ways that could happen is by guest preaching at various churches, followed up by a Bible study.
The second part of it, equipping people, we're hoping to design a one-stop shop website, both for pastors and members of our congregations to be able to go to, where they can get training, some video training, online training, Bible studies.
In order for that equip part to happen, he says, it will of course depend on a lot of research and learning from people what are the obstacles that they face from reaching out to others.
For quite some time, our evangelism efforts have centered on what I would call corporate evangelism. So things that we do as a church to do outreach. That's what we've focused on, I'd say, over the last 20 years. And that's, I think, God has blessed those efforts. Now I would like to see us focus a little bit more on personal evangelism.
And that's exactly what WELS Congregational Services would like to focus on as well. Pastor Jonathan Hine, the coordinator of WELS Congregational Services, says that Pastor Recker's exceptional interpersonal skills make him a great fit for the Director on Evangelism position.
He's a motivator. Everyone likes him. He has a way of saying, in my opinion, hard things that people need to hear, but yet it comes across as loving.
Over these last 5 years, Pastor Recker has been such a huge blessing to us here at Pilgrim. But as WELS Director on Evangelism, he now has the opportunity to reach out and be an even bigger blessing to even more people who so desperately need to hear about God's saving grace.
One of the things I've heard quite often in the last couple of months is people saying, "I'm really sad that you're leaving Pilgrim," and my reply has always been, "I'm really sad too." I'm blessed by all the support that my family and I have received at Pilgrim. As I said, it's a great place to serve as a pastor. So many gifted people and people who put those gifts to use. Just a reminder that the Lord is finally responsible for His church. He still shepherds and guides it. And just as He had plans for us 5 years ago, when I arrived, He has plans for us going into the future, and it'll be exciting to see what those plans are. Thank you for allowing me to serve here, for overlooking all of my shortcomings and still being supportive. Thank you for all the support from my family, especially when my daughter was sick, and the support was remarkable, and I will never forget that.
Thank you, Pastor Recker, for serving us here at Pilgrim Lutheran Church and School. You and your whole family will be greatly missed.
I think Pastor Recker has been terrific.
He's been such a blessing in our lives, my family's lives.
Just a funny, kind, supportive man, aside from being a great pastor.
He's really one of the main reasons why we joined Pilgrim.
We love Pastor Recker.
Before he came here, I worried about the type of pastor we were going to get. And Pastor Hintz said, "Nancy, I think you're really going to like this guy, and you got to give him a chance." I said, "Okay." From his very first sermon, I knew that he was going to be a good, inspiring pastor. His actual personal joke, where he opened it, was saying, "I know you're all wondering,
will I be a good preacher? Will I do well with children? Will I be able to see over the pulpit?" People remember that.
I think his preaching style is one of the best things that he's brought to Pilgrim. The ability to move around the sanctuary in the front of the sanctuary and do his sermons by rote.
I'm amazed. I've often asked him how he manages to deliver a sermon that way and move and not be reading something.
It's enjoyable to come on Sunday and listen to him talk. He makes understanding God's Word super simple.
The depth of them and the fact that he can make them understood by anybody and everybody in the congregation. He has tremendous communication skills.
He always starts a sermon with a story that 90% of the congregation can relate to.
And I can relate personally to a lot of the specific topics.
I get it. I've had that experience.
He's feeding us these biblical truths, but he's doing it to 21st century believers. So he's always, telling stories and giving examples from his life.
I like in his sermons that he admits that he's just as much of a sinner as those of us sitting in the pews.
In the olden days, pastors, they had control of everything, and he let us see that he doesn't always have control.
He's very open, and even going through everything they did with Riley and them, being open and honest and forward about it, it's like, wow, they have hardships in their lives just like we do.
We really saw his faith and how he dealt with that situation and just put it all in God's hands, and it was the best example.
And I think that was a huge growing opportunity for the whole congregation.
To be able to find the bright spots in the hard times of your lives.
We learned a lot from Pastor Recker, and wherever he goes, that stays with us.
He has an innate ability to empower those around him to be open and honest with him. You feel like you're talking to your brother.
He finds something to connect with you on, which is nice, because there's lots of people for him to do that too.
He is so approachable. I think whether you're a member or a non-member, he can strike up a conversation with you.
I had some friends that came and visited the church, and between services, he took the time and talked to these people. And what both people said that they felt really comfortable with is that he listened before he made comments. He listened quite a bit.
It's a gift. Many of us focus on our own age group, but to be able to relate to everybody and everybody's situation, it's a wonderful gift.
At first, it kind of broke my heart when he told me he was leaving. That was a tough day. But I know that he's going to be great at what he's going to do.
But I know that he probably is one of the best men for the new position because he is evangelism.
This is a loss for Pilgrim. However, this is a big gain for the Synod. He'll do an outstanding job with his skills.
I figure if he can do everywhere in the Synod what he's done here, we're going to be much better off.
I'm truly going to miss you. I really am going to miss the man. He's just been a total joy to me.
Our hope is that the Lord will be with you as you take the next step in your journey of service to Him.
We wish you well. We love you. We will miss you. But we know God's in charge.